Hey everybody, welcome to Q&A video number 30. Yeah, we've done 30 of these already. That's kind of crazy. But make sure you keep asking questions. Doesn't matter about. They can be about anything. Just know that I don't respond to review requests or Let's Play requests in these videos, but I will respond to them in the comments. So let's go ahead and get started with a question from Unseen370. Do you think the narrator mechanic used in Bastion will become a more commonly used thing for storytelling? We'll see. It's kind of hard to pull something like that off without the right voice, without the right story, etc., etc., so on and so forth. There's so many things that can go wrong with it. And to date, the only one I've seen is Bastion. And so that makes it a little bit hard to say whether it'll be more common or not. I mean, Bastion did quite well. So it is possible, but we'll just have to wait and see. As for whether I think it personally will become a more commonly used thing, you'll probably see more of it now that it's been proven that it works. But other than that, I can't really say much. I doubt that very many games will use it because it is kind of a niche thing. It'll only work with certain types of games, certain storylines, and such like that. It's not going to work with everything. So, we'll see. Next question is from Rageaholic, aka Serious Kamikaze. Hey DW, what do you think of total conversions like Zombie Panic Source or Defense Alliance? Well, personally I don't like either of the ones you mentioned, but total conversions in general, I respect the amount of work that goes into them because it's usually a lot. And so there's that, and then there's of course the idea of certain total conversions being kind of ludicrous. Like Age of Chivalry, for instance, I was like, what? And then I played it, I'm like, cool! So there's a lot of ideas out there that come across in total conversions, and they may not be perfected, but they're cool ideas, and so I like that aspect of them. What I don't like is that their quality varies wildly. Just depends on the mod team, depends on the game in question, depends on how extensively they had to rewrite the code, because they have to do that in a lot of cases. So it's all over the place on that. I think they're generally a cool idea. I don't see all that much of them anymore. Granted, I haven't looked into the modding scene for a little while. But total conversions are getting harder and harder to do. And so if you see a more modern one on a more modern game, then it's certainly worthy of checking out just by nature of them putting so much work into it. Next one is from the guy in the funny hat. How do you feel about the open source gaming community or freeware games? Do you think they're killing the mainstream market? Nope. Of course they're not. Open source gaming is sketchy. The quality varies wildly. They're like the modding community, only they're full games instead of mods. And there's some open source games that are good. Most of them, not so much. I mean, Free Civ is okay. It runs like crap, but it's a pretty decent game. Free Call's pretty decent. But the majority of open source games are just, they're not fully tested. They're not fully compatible with things. They tend to run a little bit slower because they're usually programmed in Java or something. So they're messy in that regard. As for freeware, that's been around for a long time, so that I can't really say much about that. A lot of freeware games are older things that have just been re-released by the developers who are like, nobody gets this anymore, let's just give it away for free. And maybe we'll get some people who like it and check out other stuff. And so that's perfectly fine. It's just releasing your game for free. As for killing the mainstream market, hell no. Look at Call of Duty. It's still going strong. In fact, it's setting new records with each release. So there you go. And people still buy sports games, though I don't know why. So the mainstream market's doing just fine. Then the open source and freeware communities are just, they're not even making a dent. Alright, next one is from Omega Wolf Studios. How do you feel about the future of the software industry? Software in general, it'll do okay, but there are a few things here and there that I wish they'd change. Like, license agreements need to be really more clearly defined. It's the way it's set up right now, it's you don't technically own the program you're using, you just own a license to use it. It's a mess. And they need to really fix a lot of those issues. That's part of what happens with all these copyright issues you're hearing about. They need to fix that badly. There's also the issues of everything just costs way too much if you're trying to get into things. Like 3ds Max, for instance, which is the industry standard for modeling and animations and such for video games, as well as film for that matter. A single license, last I checked, costs something like $1,400 US. That's a lot of money for a single license. I think students get it for about $500. That's still ridiculous. So they need to fix stuff like that. That's just absolutely ludicrous. They need to do something about that. There's no wonder there's so much piracy going around of stuff like that. As for operating systems, Windows 8 will fail miserably from what I can tell. It's a tablet OS and they're trying to pass it off as a desktop OS. It's not going to work. I don't like it already. I haven't even tried it. I don't like it. I know enough about it that I don't like it. So we'll see about that. As for gaming, however, we're in a bit of a soft spot here. Where you've got the indie community just rising up to the occasion, getting better and better, and then you've got the mainstream market, which is stagnant. You got Call of Duty and not much else. So you got a problem with that. And there needs to be some more drive in the mainstream market to do other things than just Call of Duty or Call of Duty ripoffs. Because the mainstream market is sagging where everything else is kind of moving on. So we need to do something about that. But it is the best time ever to be into indie development, I'm pretty sure. So go right into that. And the last one for today is from the Ninja of Halo. In your Unreal Tournament 2004 review, you mentioned the Ballistic Weapons mod. In your review of Deus Ex Human Revolution, you mentioned that you like playing with the mod that disables the color filter. And finally, you mentioned in your Fallout 3 review that the game was mod-friendly. So what are your favorite mods or games to mod? Mods, it just depends. The Specialist was good. I liked the Specialist quite a lot. But as for other things, I can't really specifically point out a lot of them. I mean, Martigan's Monster Mod, Oscuro's Oblivion Overhaul, the stuff like that was really good. Without a doubt, some of the best games to mod, Neverwinter Nights, not the second one, but the first one, Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion, Elder Scrolls 3 Morrowind, Fallout 3, Fallout New Vegas, all of those are great for modding. Unreal Engine 3 games, not so much, just because of the way they do everything with the file structure. It's a mess. Unreal Tournament 2004 was one of the great modding games. Half-Life 2 and the Source engine in general. The original Half-Life, the Gold Source engine. All of that, just great modding potential in a lot of those games. Dungeons of Dreadmore is actually pretty mod-friendly if you know what you're doing with that. So, you're seeing modding becoming more and more of a focus of PC-specific games. So that's kind of a cool idea, and I'm glad that they're starting to really acknowledge the modding community again. Because for a while, while they did make their games fairly moddable, they didn't really support the modding community, where you're seeing that more and more these days. So, at least on PC exclusives. Skyrim, for instance, has the Steam Workshop capability. Portal 2 has that too, I believe. So, I'm hoping more games really adopt this very mod-friendly policy. Other than that, there aren't really a lot of games that are very, very moddable. So, when it comes up and it's a major feature, then it's a pretty big deal. So, there you go, folks. That was Q&A 30. So, make sure to keep asking questions. I need some for more videos later on. Specifically, after this next one, video 31, I'm going to really need a lot of questions. So, send me questions. Lots of them. And I will catch you guys in later videos.